racing at Highpoint. Swoll, a pretty good jump. Colt Nichols leading them on the inside. Justin Cooper powering on the outside. And I think Nichols just edges his teammate out. Yet Nichols in the lead on the 64.
And a huge pileup in the first turn. A lot of bikes coming together there. Be curious if there's any of the top guys in there. Oh, Shimoda down.
Yeah, Shimoda had a good first moto, is inside the top 5, and he is still stuck. Meanwhile, the Yamaha riders are still going at it. Cooper and Nichols. Cooper now to the lead.
Yeah, that got really close. Luckily, they were teammates. Otherwise, that could have gotten a little bumpy right there. But, oh, and right when you think Cooper had it, Nichols comes right back at him. But good start again for Moto 1 winner.
Yeah, Swoll right there battling with both Lawrence brothers, Hunter and Jet. And Swoll takes the measure of them to move into third on that number 47. Swoll is on it today.
Yes. Well, we always say it. Sometimes just one good moto is what a kid needs. And these
they
bikes
are still stuck in the first turn. And I'm trying to figure exactly the first turn. They do not. The entire racetrack doesn't use all of it. This is incredible how these bikes are locked. But I think they're actually off now to where they wouldn't be.
See the red banner in the background?
Yeah.
They go across the start straight and then in front of where they would be right now. But
meanwhile, Cooper in the number 1 spot. I think it was Jack Chambers, by the way, in the Rides Unlimited KTM. That's that 192 that you're looking at here. I believe that's his first pro race, so tough break for him. First pro race in the motocross, at least. Swoll has gotten around to Nichols. Nichols trying to come back. Nichols does. And whoa, where did he find that line? Came right back at it.
He just cut that really hard. Like you said, I don't even know how he managed to make that happen. That's that line that Hampshire was using in the middle there and makes it work again. So, like you said, Swoll gets a good start, leads to a moto win, and now he truly believes he belongs up there, and he's passing the top guys.
Yeah, this is a rider that got 6th in a moto at our last race, and that was a big breakthrough. That was a career best. Now he's got a moto win, and he wants another. Trying to chase down Justin Cooper. He pushes Nichols back to 3rd. Then you've got Jet Lawrence. And they've gotten around that carnage in turn 1 with Chambers and Shimoda all tangled up.
We've seen some really freak things happen today already.
Yeah, strange day at the races. By the way, I think we saw Hunter Lawrence up there with his brother Jet on the first lap. He has gone down, so we don't see him in that group. That's what I was trying to figure out. And we got another Rockstar Husqvarna on the move. The 67 of Styles Robertson is at the tail end of this group. We can show you now what happened to the 41 of Hunter Lawrence. Tough day at the races for him. In that yellow gear, around the outside, ended up going down. And just like Moto 1, you crash in the first lap.
Yeah, you lose a few positions. He got up super quick, though, so not too bad.
Hunter rode really well in qualifying and practice and in the motos, but these early crashes we'll show it to you right here. There it is.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of crashes in that turn in different ways.
And this is what it took to try to get Shimoda and Chambers bikes dislodged from each other. And Shimoda is finally going. So he had a great moto in Moto 1. You can see handlebars that are being stuck in another bike. They're all sorts of out of alignment.
Well, he can't even reach his front brake.
Yeah, it's pointed straight down.
The front end's twisted.
You really see the pitfalls of motocross on a day like today. They're still working on the Rides Unlimited bike here of Chambers.
I think they had to take the chain off, yeah.
To take the chain off just to get the bike out. Wow. You think you've seen it all here in motocross, and if something like that happens. All right, so Justin Cooper, who had his own issues in Moto 1, fell down at one point, is now leading here in Moto 2. Got to try to get some points back. Early season, it's him and Jet Lawrence, 1-2 in the standings. Lawrence took the measure of him in our first race earlier today. Cooper trying to get those points back. And now he's settled down, starting to stretch it just a bit on Swoll and the rest of the field.
Yeah, last lap around, Justin Cooper was actually 2:07, and Swoll was at 2:09 flat, so it was actually just over a second, about 1.1. Lawrence, Jet in 2:08, and then everyone else 09 and higher. So Cooper running good speed this moto. We didn't quite see that, raw speed in Moto 1. Maybe the track coming around more to his liking.
Swoll is right there. Now we calculate the overall win for the weekend with both races combined. If it ends like this, and we're only 5 minutes into a half-hour race, Swoll would still be the overall winner. But a long way to go, and going to be dealing with some pressure here. Jet Lawrence on the Honda HRC 18 here is not too far back in third. And so a little bit of friendly fire for Swoll because it's his teammate, Styles Robertson, in fourth.
Well, Jet gained a lot of time there on Swoll.
So Justin Cooper starting to march away from the field, but no leader is safe on a rough racetrack like this. A couple of mistakes from the 32. He gathers it back up and has a lead of about 3 seconds. Justin Cooper, originally out of the Long Island, New York area, leading today in Pennsylvania. So Cooper trying to march away. And we'll give you an idea of the gap. There it is between Swoll, and every time you see them, Lawrence a little bit closer, and now trying to make a pass.
Yeah, Swoll using that downhill, and then just like that. So easy to get out of that run. But he's on the inside for this next turn, so you might be able to defend. As we see Shimoda getting his bike kind of put back together, but you can see how bent that handlebar is.
Wow, just completely stuck in Chambers' bike. Now here we go, back across the start stretch. Almost looked like Lawrence had a wheel on Swoll. Swoll holds him off. This is a bit of a rematch in their amateur days. Swoll was one of the top prospects in the country, and then Lawrence came over from Australia, and they battled quite a bit in some of their final amateur events. And then Swoll kind of said, it would take a while. It always takes a while to learn all the tricks of the trade. Lawrence was fast immediately as a pro, but today they are back to the same level as they battle the number 2 spot.
Oh, yeah. Lawrence has charged that hill. He's got the inside. Can he get there before Swoll tries to pinch him? No! Luckily, there's 2 lines there now. If they came together, that might have been interesting, but Jet really aggressive on the downhill, braking late, making up time.
Not taking too many chances. 1-6 almost an opportunity to get a wheel to wheel. He doesn't want to go down, so he's thought better of it twice when they almost came together. Going to remount an attack on Swoll. Nichols fourth.
Well, you saw what happened to his buddy and teammate. He's jumping that. Swoll's got to figure that out now. He's been losing bike links there every lap. Now that he's behind, he can see what Lawrence does. He's got to pick this up. Otherwise, it's going to hurt him.
Yeah, well, that was it. Lawrence used that line to close in a bunch on the previous lap, and now he uses it to make the pass. Looks like Chambers is back on track. Going to go a lap down almost instantly. That was a tough situation there in that first turn, and here is Lawrence getting around the lap rider. Look at Swoll still charging. Swoll right there with Lawrence. Scrubs it. It's time. The NASCAR Cup Series returns to NBCSN with one of the most anticipated events of the season, and return to Nashville for the first time in decades. The race to the playoffs is in high gear. NASCAR in Nashville tomorrow, 3 Eastern, NBCSN. And you see some celebs going to help with our pre-race show. Back to the action here in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. You got Jet Lawrence making a move on Jalek Swoll. And here's how he made the move on Swoll for second place.
Yeah, he sets us up. Watch how what we call pre-jump. Jet, watch, launches right there, barely touches the top, kind of skims it more than launching off of it. Gets a good drive, and then obviously he's got the inside. He controls the corner. Nothing more that Swoll can do, but Jalek needs to figure that out because that's costing him a ton of time.
Yeah, rest of the track, Jalek's pretty strong as he tries to keep Lawrence in check. Justin Cooper's lead is up to 5.8 seconds. The number 32 on the Monster Energy Star Yamaha. Lawrence and Cooper just keep duking it out back and forth. Looked like they were going to be locked into a summer-long duel with the veteran Jeremy Martin. But Martin, who won 2 motos of the first 3 to start this series, crashed, injured his hand at our last event, and was going to try to come back and race here at Highpoint. And then late this week, he went down again. He told me it was because the hand slipped off the handlebars. So that's what happens when you're trying to ride with a hand injury. And then now he has broken fingers. So I'm not sure if we'll get Jeremy back before the year is over. He said it depends on what the doctors say and how the healing process goes. would strike one major title contender from it. How about some other new fresh faces up front? Carson Mumford of the Chaparral FXR Honda 39, running 5th. Mumphy, as they call him, one of the young riders out here, second pro season. It's by far the best ride we've seen him put in this year.
Yeah, he's been getting better. I think he's been trying to get, comfortable with the team, the bike, and everything. And I believe he also made a riding coach change not that long ago, teaming up with Davey Millsap. So maybe that's starting to pay off at the moment.
And you got Max Voland, the Red Bull KTM. He had problems with an early crash in Moto 1. They're all getting around Chambers, his lap rider, who is stuck in the ground in turn 1. That's the 192. Voland of the 115 is in the lead lap. And then you've got Garrett Marchbanks, the blue and white 48, the Club MX Yamaha, coming through next.
Yeah, Marchbanks has really ridden strong all season long. As he gets almost alongside, tries to jump to the inside. That looked pretty cool, but what's he going to do here? Voland tries to protect, but I think Marchbanks might have the exit drive. He does. He banked off that wall, got it done.
Marchbanks has been phenomenal so far this summer. 5th in points coming in. Didn't even race this series the last couple of years due to injury. This Club MX team is a privateer unit. They have never raced in this series before. They usually race Supercross. They've actually spent some seasons racing up in Canada. They've taken on the challenge with the type of talent they have now at Marchbanks to try to become an elite team. And he has been good all year. Now we go back to this battle. Swoll getting caught by Nichols. And you see Mumford not too far back. So you're looking at 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, for Swoll, obviously the first moto probably went a little bit more comfortable. He's got some pressure, and he's thinking about the overall. At the moment, he would still win it. But if he lost 2 positions, then that's gone out of the window. And I truly believe someone like him, that's probably the biggest goal right now. He's not really thinking championship at this point. For him, it would be a dream come true of your first career win.
Oh, but it's going to be so much pressure. He's got a couple of riders to hold off. He can lose one more position if it ends like this, and he would still win the overall for the weekend. Not going to be easy. Nichols continues to close. And you saw that battle. Mumford, Marchbanks, Voland, they're all close. Faulkner, Brown, and Ty Masterpool, who's top 10 in Moto 1, is running 10th here in Moto 2. The top of Highpoint Raceway, Swoll. Got to try to race in the moment, not think about that overall too much. Keep the pressure off and deal with Nichols.
Getting around Derek Kelly there. So he's getting lapped a little bit early. Obviously not a great moto for him either. But good moto for, like you just mentioned, some of these names. I mean, we often talk about, in the 250 class, most of these factory-backed teams have about 4 riders. So, with 6 manufacturers, getting the top 20 can be tough. We've got privateers in the top 10. Phenomenal job.
So here's the pressure point. Jalek Swoll running in 3rd. 1 and 3 scores in the 2 motos would allow him to win the overall for the weekend. That would be huge for his career. Halfway through Moto 2. So Justin Cooper putting it back together. Kind of puzzling in Moto 1. He had this speed at times, but then he also had some bad laps in Moto 1, but he's definitely got it figured out now. Nearly 5 seconds up on the field.
Yeah, that's a nice gap to have at this point of the race. But the problem is the guy that is behind him, who he's probably most concerned about and knows could gain that gap at any given time, it's Jet Lawrence. So for Justin Cooper, he's going to be riding his own lines, but anytime he gets a chance on a 180 turn, he's going to have a look. There's Joe back in the pits, Joe Shimoda. Sometimes people say, why would a guy go out a lap down? That's a waste of time. And I go, you got to remember, you're here. If you don't do moto, not only are you not gaining on fitness, but potentially you've done less than everyone else. So whether it's partly mental or also at second moto, you're not trying to save any energy for another moto. So he was going out there trying to get some laps in, get some data, keep the fitness, keep that race pace. But obviously the bike too bent up. It's come in several times. You can actually see that right part of the handlebar has been raised up. I mean, it really got caught in the back of the bike. So There's nothing worse than being on a track like this that's rutted with bent, you know, handlebars and everything in the front. Yeah, it makes it almost impossible. You're not going to learn much, put it that way.
Justin Cooper has it dialed in right now. It's 4.5 seconds now over Jet Lawrence, so he lost actually about a half second out of his lead. But you got to figure he's managing it right now. You're watching Justin Cooper, rider out of New York, leading the way here in Pennsylvania. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, the Geico Motorcycle Highpoint National. Cooper's been living in California the last couple of years. Well, his whole team is going to make the move to live and ride and train in Florida. That's kind of the standard motocross move. This Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha squad was actually pretty unique, that they kept everybody in California all year, going to the Florida program like most. We're halfway through this 30-minute moto, 15 minutes away from maybe a moto win for Justin Cooper. You are 15 minutes away from maybe saving 15% or more on your insurance. Just call Geico. Checking the gap. It was 5 seconds. Jet Lawrence in second had it down to 4.5. It's now back to 4.8. This is big for Justin Cooper because even though he won an overall at our last race in Colorado, he has not won a moto this year, and he was not shy about it. He went 2-2 in the 2 races last weekend, and he says, yeah, it sucks not to win a moto. I won, but I got beat in both motos. So this would be a big breakthrough, at least for him. I don't think confidence was lacking, but a little something extra here if he can hold on.
Well, he took a really hard look to his left when he came out of that left-hand turn going up the hill there, making sure he got a good visual of where Jet Lawrence was. So sometimes you pick a point on the track, you try to see where your competition is, and you always want to hope that they're at least there or further back. When they come closer towards you, you get a little nervous. See the flagger holding up the green and the white flag sideways. That indicates to the riders that they are halfway through, so it's usually 15 minutes plus a lap. They'll throw that out because they do 30 plus 2. Oh, running that outside wall, that's beautiful.
Hey, your Fast family is back. It's Fast and the Furious F9 in theaters on Friday. That's fast. So is that NTT IndyCar Series coming to Road America. That's tomorrow at 12:30. I was just at Road America last weekend for a little road race action. That is a beautiful place to race, and that's one of the premier events there when the IndyCars go. That's going to have NASCAR Cup Series there at Road America up in Wisconsin. So a banner summer to have all these big racetracks and big crowds back. It's exactly what is happening at Highpoint Raceway, where we did not get to have a race last year. And that actually means that this is the first time Jet Lawrence has raced this track. Because last year was his first full pro season, and we didn't have this event on the calendar. So he's learning, I'm sure, every time around.
Absolutely, and I think whether it was IndyCar, MotoGP, when you're watching on NBC, just like motocross, it's very unpredictable. It's been so competitive this year. But in this class, at least we could say the number 18 might have been, Schwartz. He's been having an awesome day and crashes in an awkward position, has to go backwards.
And there is Hunter Lawrence in the 41 going around him. This is probably around the 13th spot. That's where Schwartz was. Lawrence, you remember, went down early. Schwartz was fantastic at Moto 1. He got 6th. That was a career best for him. And might have been working on another top 10 here until he fell on that Bar X Chaparral Suzuki. Back to our leader, Justin Cooper. Now it's huge, almost 9 seconds up as Cooper is looking for his first moto win of the year. And he's the man that could be tasked to deliver this championship this year for a team that's won it a lot of times in the past.
Good lap after good lap.
Cooper trying to make this very difficult track look easy. Navigates that billboard turn. Really interesting, the different soil types. Almost everywhere you look, you've got sand mulch, you've got shiny hard pack, you've got loam.
Yeah, this track does have a bit of everything at the moment. And I was kind of alluding to that in the first moto, even though it was raining a little bit, becoming slick in certain areas. There are parts of the track where there is quite a bit of traction, but there are parts that can be almost deceivingly slick. And, you know, through practice and all that, you start figuring out the track, but it changes throughout the day. Certain parts of the track pack in, they get more slick. Some areas tack up because it's drying up, like through this turn. they're going through there pretty good, whereas first moto, they're having to be a little tentative. So really having to do that third part of the KTM keys to the motor, keep up with the conditions, because that means whether it's your bike setup, how you attack the track, your line selection, all those things come into play. And Justin Cooper just looks like quite a bit different of a rider this moto. You can tell he's in his element. He's feeling confident, comfortable. That first moto, you could tell at times he just definitely looked a little uncertain of what the track was bringing to him.
Cooper has 5 moto wins in his career. That's almost a deceptive number. His real calling card has been the consistency, the amount of podiums, 14 podiums in his career, and he's very good in qualifying. He's a very good starter. He doesn't really have the bad races, and that's what could make him dangerous for this championship. You can almost count on the 32 being up front in every moto, and he's really got it dialed in right now as he continues to pull away.
Hey everyone, Jet here. So this weekend, I'm gonna do something very special, because the most question I always get asked is, can I have a jersey? So I'm playing something a little fun, a little bit of competition, because who doesn't love competition, all right? Who doesn't, okay? So this weekend, whoever makes the best fan board with Jetson 18, Jet 18, Jet Lawrence, anything, and I'll personally hand you my jersey after the second moto. So make sure you guys get real artsy with that. Don't worry, we're still going to be having the donuts in the morning, so make sure you guys get there early in the morning, get your donut. But besides that, let the games begin. Woo!
Well, what a way to welcome the fans back to Highpoint. Jet Lawrence, yep, we have a sign competition going here. We're going to try to get him to pick one, I think, on the podium. So a nice variety of signs. Yes, Jet has said he's a donut fan. He even gives out 100 donuts every Saturday morning to the first 100 fans that stop by the Red Bull rig. So fans are pumped to get that jersey. They're trying everything to get his attention.
Oh, yes. And there's been quite a few of them. Very creative. I actually saw one that I loved that said, "My dad is making me hold this sign." And it was a Jets and Donuts.
Okay, there it is.
Oh, Jet Fuel. There you go.
That's a good one. Well, Jet's in second right now, so that means he might be picking the best poster of the day on the podium, but not with the race win. He will be second overall if it ends like this. The pressure point is on Jalek Swoll, who has been solid in third. He had pressure from Colt Nichols. Garrett Marchbanks, what a ride by the 48. He has moved up to fourth. And let's check in with this guy who has been star-crossed at this racetrack. 2 different years he left here injured. So this has turned from one of his nightmare tracks to one of his best. Marchbank's been good all year in the top 10 in every moto, and also the team reported that between motos, I don't know if it's the altitude or the heat or whatever it was last time out in Colorado, he was shaking, he was throwing up between motos. They didn't even think he'd race. Went out there and put it in the top 10 again, and that's why he is 5th in points. These kids definitely know how to dig deep. But 4th, he's just getting better every single run, Marchbanks.
Yeah, he had a little rough patch there as a pro. Came up from the amateur ranks, had a pro circuit factory Kawasaki ride, and you know, sometimes whether it's just unlucky or a couple of events, it led to some crashes, some injuries. We know in this sport, if you get hurt year after year, you know, eventually you're going to lose that ride. And since he lost that ride, you know, it's sort of defined his character. You know, some guys, it's the beginning of the end. For Marchbanks, he's proving why he deserves a factory ride. And I tell you what, if he keeps up this for the rest of the outdoors based on what he also did in Supercross, I got a feeling that there's going to be factory teams knocking on his door come 2022.
I believe his best career moto finish was a 7th back in 2019, so this would be by far the best. It's his best of this season, so now he is knocking on the door of a potential podium if it goes like this. So it's kind of where we are in the 250 class. Cianciarulo wins the title in 2019, moves up. Chase Sexton also moves up. Ferrandis wins the 250 title last year, moves up. Jeremy Martin, who's won this title a lot, is out injured right now, could be back, but we are looking at a rebuild in this 250 class. Swoll going for an overall for the first time. Marchbanks looking at a career high. So many new riders in this mix. Let's give you the motosport.com whole shot replay. You're watching the 64 of Colt Nichols he's going to control it from the inside.
Yeah, and in the background, you see that big pileup. Several riders trying to squeeze into a small bit of area, but those Yamaha are still getting great starts. And flanked by the Huskies as well, so a lot of white near the front at the moment.
Yeah, that start by Swoll might make all the difference. He won the first moto earlier today.
That was actually pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah, Swoll and Cooper trying to take it away. So Justin Cooper is winning this moto, but he had his problems in moto number 1. And that will cost him any chance of winning the overall because he got a 5th in that one. So it could be Jalek Swoll's day if he can hang on for 3rd.
Hunter Lawrence all the way down into number 13 spot. He's running at 2:10.
Well, Justin Cooper has walked away with it. It's up to 12.5 seconds right now. I think there's a little pressure on Cooper now with Jeremy Martin out. I mean, look, we know Bobby Regan, the owner of the Star Racing team, especially outdoors. That team expects nothing but titles. They still have Nichols in it, but it's really on Cooper right now.
Well, they've sort of dominated this class for several years now. But I don't think it added any extra pressure with Jeremy out, because I think Justin Cooper came into the season thinking that he was the one that was going to win it, not his teammate. So I don't think the dynamics changed much at all. It's unfortunate what happened to Jeremy, but at the same time, I think Jeremy believed he could win this. But I also think Justin Cooper, I mean, he said it outright. He told me too. He's like, I coming here to win.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess you're right. Pressure wouldn't change.
That's simple.
If you expected to win the title, it doesn't matter who goes out. Oh!
He got a little loose there coming into that. You kind of have to jump. It takes a lot of energy what they're doing where they land on that roller, but it's so much quicker because you skim off it like a rock going across the water rather than landing and jumping and then landing in that dip again.
This would be 3rd overall for Cooper with the 5-1 if it ends like this. There is one more championship point on the day scored between he and Jet Lawrence, and they both had their good and their bad points. So really ends up at Highpoint being almost a wash between the two of them. And the question is, who else is in this title fight? Certainly Hunter Lawrence has had starts and speed today, but early race mistakes in both motos have cost him. Could be looking at a big boost for a rider like Swoll if he can take the overall. Nichols was much better today, but we haven't seen anything to disprove that it might just be Justin Cooper and Jet Lawrence battling for this title, at least not today, but we got a long way to go in this championship. And we've definitely seen the ups and downs. A couple riders could leave today being like, but if it wasn't for this or that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
Especially Hunter Lawrence with the 2 first-lap crashes.
Yeah, with probably about 10 seconds to spare.
Your Fast family is back. Fast and the Furious F9 in theaters Friday. Get your tickets now. Yeah, that's right. Movie theaters are back. Fans at motorsports are back. It's going to be a really fun summer here in 2021. Really fun if you're this guy, Jalek Swoll. Everyone was tracking the weather radar all weekend. We did not have this on the radar. That Jalek Swoll, who had not ever scored a podium in a single moto in his career, was all of a sudden going to go out and win the overall. He won the first moto. He is 3rd in Moto 2. That would be more than enough to be today's race winner.
Now, this is going to be really special for this youngster. You could see you could literally see the smile through his helmet.
Yeah.
When he went to the podium after that first moto, the crowd was behind it. And it's a great feeling to be like that. And then you're always like, in the back of your mind, like, just don't blow it. You know, there's nothing worse than going first and crashing out. You know, and it's happened to a lot of guys over the years. So excited, you want it so bad, and it all goes horribly wrong. So you're like, okay, I've got to get a good start, put myself in a good position, and then, you know, run with the big dogs, you know, the Jet Lawrences and that, and then figure out what you need at the end. You know, he didn't have to win this moto, but at the moment, he'll still get the overall. And I think, you know, for someone like him, it's going to be the biggest moment of his entire racing career.
Yeah, great point. I feel like more often you see the rider with that breakthrough first Moto win follow it up with a disaster.
How many times have we come to a shot where you're like, oh, our Moto 1 winner is out.
Exactly.
Oh, he's down, you know.
Yeah, so credit to Swoll for living in the moment. He was very excited with that first Moto win, but he said, I got to not get too high and settle back down and finish it off in Moto 2. And so far, as we're about to get the 2 laps to go sign, he's going to do it. On the Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna running third in this Moto. Marchbanks Nichols, top 5. Mumford, Faulkner, Hampshire, top 8. Volan 9th. Time Master Pool 10th.
You know what, though? I think Justin Cooper may have just crossed the finish line before time expired. So they may still have 3 laps to go. I didn't see the 2-lap card come out, and it looked like it was going to be close, but we'll see what happens. But for Swoll, it's like, just throw the checkered flag, please. Do me a favor.
Yeah, just more time to think about it, although he has a pretty good gap over Marchbanks, and there's enough points that even if Marchbanks were to pass him, he would still be the overall winner. He just has to avoid finishing in 5th, because then he'd have a 1st and a 5th, and Cooper would have a 1st and a 5th, and the second Moto is the tiebreaker. Actually, don't let the clock fool you. I think that Marchbanks is making a march toward him. Yeah, he's actually closer than it looks like.
Yeah, that's gotten really close.
Yep. Yeah, so it was a little over, it's around 2.5 seconds now. You can see it says it's 1 second. One mistake, essentially, for Swoll, and he'll lose a spot. I don't know how much of the math he has figured out. He doesn't need to hold off Marchbanks, but I don't know if he knows exactly what his situation is.
I don't think he knows exactly. I'm sure in his head he's thinking, I can't lose this spot. My overall could be in jeopardy.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe his mechanics told him, you don't need this, which is, I find that hard to believe too, because usually they're like, come on, dig deep, let's go.
Yep. So the 20-year-old out of Florida, longtime prospect here for the Rockstar Husqvarna team. Gives a lot of credit to Tim Ferry, who actually won this race back in 1995. In the early years, that was Swoll's coach. Now they work at the Baker's factory in Florida. He works with Mike Brown quite a bit, your old rival. And they have coached this guy up. They said it was going to be a little while. He's not the kind of guy they expected to go out in his first pro race and lead laps and do anything spectacular. It was just slowly but surely get better with each race. That's exactly what has happened. But he's got a fight on his hands. Marchbanks just keeps inching up on him.
I wouldn't even go with inching. He's actually taking out some pretty big chunks at the moment. So I got to imagine Swoll's probably riding just a little tense, a little tight. He knows what's on the line. And Marchbanks is just going, I'm here to ruin factory riders' days. You know, I was one temporarily. I lost my ride. I want to prove to people why I deserve one in the first place. This is a great ride for Marchbanks.
Yeah, and again, in a track where he has been luckless with injuries in the past. So good job by Marchbanks to bounce back from that. They got a nice lead over Nichols, though, who's in 5th. That's the insurance policy that Swoll has for the overall. Marchbanks going for the spot.
Yeah, that outside, at one point in the turn, it always looks like it's tempting that it's going to happen. But just those outsides through that little switchback section, they're pretty far out there. They dives to the inside.
Whoa, Swoll definitely knows he's back there now.
Oh, of course.
Yep, he's hearing it, he's seeing it at times. Marchbanks going to run another outside line.
He's going the long way around, but he'll have to carry the speed. He did flow that turn quite nicely, but Swoll did not make a mistake on the inside. Now what do they do through this section? Not launching it quite like they were in the beginning, but you get those little braking bumps. Oh, I thought Swoll leaving the door open might have been a little risky right there, but he knows what he's doing.
Marchbanks not able to get him, but he is just all over this racetrack. If Swoll's inside, Marchbanks is outside. That's one of the few areas where we actually saw them both using the same line. See if it spreads back out here as they head back to the top.
Well, you can see how Swoll's kind of digging deep to try and fend this off, you know, which comes back to, I don't think he knows if he's safe, you know, if Marchbanks gets around. And I'm sure he would hate to know that he lost the overall with a lap or a lap and a quarter to go. So he's fighting, he is digging. In fact, Marchbanks made a little mistake coming out of that uphill left-hander. So just a couple bike lengths to help Swoll not hear that Yamaha revving behind him.
Now, the one thing that might help Swoll, the mechanics used to signal the riders through a series of jumps. They called it Bradshaw Boulevard, named after Damon Bradshaw, one of the legends of this track back in the 80s and 90s. They moved the mechanics area back to the bottom of this hill, those tents over to the right, and they gave riders a flat, jumpless piece of ground so they would have more chance to see the signboard. I don't know if they have told Swoll the math. He doesn't need to hold out Marchbanks, but he might not be aware of it. It looks like the way he's hustling that he's trying to hold this spot.
I really think that even if his mechanic could relay that message, I wouldn't even tell him, you know.
Better to ride just forward than...
Yeah, ride forward. The more you think about not making mistakes and being defensive, you usually either make a mistake and crash, or the rider behind you passes you because you got so tight and tentative. Oh, some lap traffic. This could be interesting.
Just make the kid more nervous.
Slicing and dicing inside, outside, wherever they do not go. You can see Swoll trying to find some clean real estate there. But it's actually worked out a little bit. You see a little buffer now to Marchbanks, which is exactly what he would have wanted on this last lap.
Oh, what he doesn't want to do is have to slice and dice through the lap traffic in the ruts on the last lap with the overall hanging in the balance. First time he's ever done it.
See, he had to switch his line up there. Didn't have a choice. Went around the outside, but the line actually works out pretty well.
So Jalek Swoll, 20 years old, out of Florida, making it happen. Now a few turns away. Justin Cooper is going to win the Moto. And wonder about the one that got away. He was only 5th in the first Moto. He had his issues. A little tip over at one point. I think he might have had some vision issues. We're not sure. Got passed at one point by Jet Lawrence. And those positions that he lost in Moto 1 going to cost Cooper a shot at the overall. But credit to Swoll. He was fast. He passed Cooper in the first Moto. And then he was pretty darn good here in Moto 2. The 3rd place should be enough to become the 87th winner ever in this class. Justin Cooper takes the Moto win. Probably not enough for the overall. How about this? It's a rebuild year for the 250 class. We expected new names to get to the front, and we have one. Said it'd be a slow, steady build. It is built to this. Jalek Swoll has won his first ever professional race.
I think he's getting confirmation right there. Are you sure? Did I win overall?
Yeah.
I told you he wasn't sure. And I think the team did the right thing and didn't put that on the pit board. You don't want someone riding like it's the end of the year season championship. No, this is your best result ever. Ride that way. And now it's sinking in.
There it is. It took 2 or 3 people on the team for him finally to
didn't believe the first guy. Are you sure? Are you sure?
I don't want to do the celebrating early. So there it is. Jalek Swoll has won. He's not exactly sure how the math broke down, but the bottom line is this. This team has had his back. There's a scuba Steve Westfall, the team manager, who gives him the big hug. This team has been with him for a long time as he developed through the amateur ranks. It's pretty rough as a rookie last year, but it has all come together. We'll talk to him after this.